Live from New York. It's the show that might get back into jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Like wearing them.
Well, you're a card collector. That's the next step.
Wearing jerseys?
Yeah, you're doing a whole new look at the office. Did you know this, Brew?
No, I didn't see
Wilds is starting to wear
jerseys to the office.
No, he went the other direction.
Formal.
He's going super formal.
But I meant wear jerseys.
I've always been a little overdressed to come into the office.
Yeah. Well, it's to compensate for you.
You guys are wearing shorts.
I mean, Brew came straight.
Look at me now, though.
Yeah.
Look at me now.
They also said something similar
last year. It was Mike McDaniel who said it. Yeah.
He's like, that's a narrative. Like, it's not narrative. It's just the facts. Okay, who needs this game more, Buffalo or Miami?
All right, so it's obviously, incontrovertibly, and undeniably Miami.
True.
And the AFC East is fun for this show because the three of us have three different viable division winners. Jets, Dolphins,
I might
Bills.
want to amend.
Well, wait. No. It's too late,
and
allow.
And so
hometown team.
Hold on. So what did he say?
Hometown team.
Hometown team. Oh,
so
you know what? You can have the Patriots too.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
you
fine.
can't
You
pick
just
the
can't
Bills.
go to exactly
picking the Bills.
No, that's
you
fine.
cannot pick the Jets.
Trust
no,
me.
I know you
I will
want
not
to.
pick the Jets and held my feet over the fire.
So I would argue this is Miami's biggest game of the season.
Wow!
It's
Week 2?
Well, because of who it is and where it is. You are playing the 4-time defending division champs who you can't beat, and it's in your building. I just think in general, teams' biggest game, teams that aren't yet Super Bowl minted, that are still trying to prove they can win a division, their biggest game is against their biggest division rival at home. It's the game that is most critical to their success. And what Tua's saying, we've talked about it ad nauseum, but the facts bear it out. Tua in his career against playoff teams is not good. Against everyone else, he's excellent. That left-hand graphic is kind of a Josh Allen Bills graphic, though, because though that's 6-15 against playoff teams, if we just fast forward it to how he's done against the Bills, who have been a playoff team every year that he's played them, that's 1-6. So he's 5-9 against playoff teams, not the Buffalo Bills, which isn't great, but 1-6 with just terrible numbers. So, and Miami Wilds has so many advantages in this game. They're at home. It's a short week, which makes them being at home even more of an advantage. They are yet to go on the road this season. They have the emotional kick of stealing a win. And I think, sadly, the Tyreek thing was kind of a rallying moment for the team, which is why, Wilds, and this is a tough spot, but I have bad news for you. Gentlemen, because this is an upset alert and must win.
What?
It's an upset alert and a must win.
This past me.
Wilds.
Yesterday you did Bruce grades. Now you're doing my stuff.
I'm telling you, must win's yours? So I
must win is mine. Upset alert.
I ask you, Kevin Wilds, because I'm putting the Dolphins on upset alert, and I am asking you, Kevin Wilds, Miami Dolphins, must win?
No, it's week 2.
Oh! You won't even play along.
Yeah, you got to play along.
It's close to a must-win.
Yeah.
It's very close. You weren't, oddly, even though Tua had a bunch of yards, it wasn't a wildly impressive win over the woeful Jaguars.
Oh, now you're with us. Now all of a sudden he's okay with a little eye testing.
No, but I expected them to roll the Jags or come out, all systems go, and they eked out a win that may have gone the other way with a fumble. It's close to a must-win. It's must-win adjacent. It's on the must-win bubble. Okay. But I'm not putting it in a must-win yet. But I do need Tua to have a solid win.
For you to believe they can win the conference, he has to play well against Buffalo.
It's close. I wasn't prepped for it, but it's very, very close.
It's not a must-win, but it's a must-win. There's a difference. Yeah. Must-win is literal must-win. So there's no literal must-wins this weekend.
Well, that's not true, but go on.
No, there aren't. No literal must-wins.
Does it not feel a little Lakers-Nuggets-ish to you? Game 1, you can't beat them. They beat you. That's why I thought you would be in on it, because the Bills, Brew, have owned the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And that's who I know. I'm not acting like the Jets can't win the division. What I'm saying is the Bills are the 4-time division champions and the team that has been in the Dolphins' way every year.
It's a must. It's a must-win. Must-win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a must-win, but a must-win.
He needs a big win.
Now, let me just say, I agree with you that it's more important for the Dolphins to win. But the Bills do have some stuff to play for, too. All right? One, they didn't look good last week. Unless you think Arizona is great, like
Frisky.
I know you
No,
do.
they're frisky.
Frisky, but you got to make it in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they can run the ball.
No, they're a good little team, but I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. Just look at their division. Sure. They got the Niners and the Rams, and then Seattle's actually pretty good. So they are a good team, but they should not be able to come in your house week 1, new regime in Buffalo where it's like, oh, we don't have Stephon. Let's see what we can do now. You're excited, and they barely beat them. So Buffalo does need to go out. I think a good win for them over a good Miami team would be good. So they need it too, but it's definitely Miami for all the reasons you said. But also, I said it last or after the game, they showed some tendencies to breaking out of the breakdancer.
Wow.
All right,
What'd you see?
I don't think the Jags are as good as Nick does. But I think they're a good team. Trevor's a good quarterback.
Said terrible
you
team.
held them to
Back-to-back
17
9
points.
Like they're just league average.
And
Call the
playoffs
Jags an
2 years ago.
average team.
You held them to 17 points, shut them out in the second half. All right, so now you got a new defensive coordinator. You're feeling like, you know what? We're kind of tough now. We're not just the soft little break dancers, no offense. And so this is a game. Remember what Buffalo did to them.
Correct.
This for when they do come, the break dancers. When Buffalo beat them 48-20 last year when they first played, that was a week after Miami had put 70 on Denver. And so Miami's thinking all of us were like, oh my, what in the world is going on in Miami? And then Buffalo suns them. They big brothered them. Like, you thought you had something going, you didn't.
Also,
and so this is huge for
Don't you think even Miami knows winning in Buffalo in November well, I said this is the biggest game on their schedule. That's one of the absolute hardest games on their schedule. And if you want to win the division, you can't go 0-2.
That's right.
Again, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to
split.
This
is at home in the warm weather.
It's at home in the warm weather.
We know what's going to happen when it gets 50 below. 50 or below.
50
Once it's
below.
sweatshirt weather, it gets back.
Yeah. And so this is Miami's got to have this game. And they are the favorite. That's the other thing. They are the favorite.
That's interesting.
I'd like to see some toughness. I wonder if it's a narrative game changer. That's what I'm looking for. So much of it is about narrative. Tua is saying that's the narrative. Mike McDaniel last year saying that's the narrative. I wonder if we see something. If they eked out a win, sure, we get a win in the. Yeah. We got Josh Allen's number finally. But I wonder if they're looking for a little something extra. Either a blowout. Either a blowout. Either you run it up on the score, or you play some
bully ball.
I think
you can't stop us, even though Mostert's out.
Yeah, H.A.N. will be a tough win would be great. That'd probably be the best kind
of. That's what I'm saying.
For them.
Okay. Were you concerned?
I am concerned because we know how he did it, leaping over Budda Baker, which was a great play, right? But that's when he injured his hand. And the thing is this: he was being Superman. They have put him in position this year where he's got to be Superman all the time. Like, that's how they're putting him in that position where that's how we're going to win. Josh carries, throw the touchdowns and run for most of the touchdowns. Like, and maybe Keon Coleman and I like Khalil Shakir. Maybe they will become special. But at this moment, they're good receivers and that's it. They don't have any other star. Their tight ends are good, but they have put him in position where this is what it's going to take for us to win. And yeah, Mahomes has been in a position where he has to be Superman, but he's going to do it differently than Josh. He's going to throw the football. Burrow. Josh is going to be Superman, kind of like Lamar's going to be Superman, where you're going to be running and you're going to put yourself in harm's way. And so, yeah, it concerns me that he could be getting banged up every few weeks.
So this is the endless cycle of Josh Allen, and we'll see if at some point he can break out of it. It goes something like this. Josh tries to be a traditional, normal quarterback. He struggles a bit, has some inaccuracy, turns the ball over some, gets maybe a touch of criticism, and then leans into this dual threat Superman version, looks unbelievable. People get excited. Some folks, if we can show the Gerald McCoy thing, some folks get a little too excited. If a person goes out and says Josh Allen's the best quarterback in football, you can't get upset. Rex Ryan says he is the best. And then, while he is looking like that, he gets dinged playing like that. and has to pull it back, and then we get back to needs to play traditional style of quarterback. So for they are in a weird spot because Josh Allen playing the way he did in week 1 is the most dangerous version of Josh Allen.
Yep.
It also generates the least dangerous version of Josh Allen, which is, remember a couple years ago? Well, what do you want from him? His elbow was hurt for 4 weeks, which is injured Josh Allen. The least dangerous version of every football player is the injured version of him.
Not Mahomes.
Well, no, oddly, Mahomes actually better, you know what I mean, if you remember, on one leg. But here's the thing. The Bills have to convince him that version can only be activated on a few key plays.
Will never happen.
Or late in the season or in the playoffs. Because
too much to think about, though.
Man, I don't know. I don't think, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes, and I'm sorry to use that as the standard, but that's the guy he's chasing. Mahomes has a half dozen iconic runs. They're all in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Whether it was on one leg, the sideline one versus the Titans, the one where the Bengals player hit him. It's key spots in setting up back-to-back Super Bowls. He has set up game-winning or game-tying field goals by running the football.
Yep.
And Josh clearly is one of the most deadly runners at the position there is. But in week 1 against the Cardinals, this is why I also have been not as impressed as others by the rushing touchdown numbers, is because, man, I feel like you could maybe get that touchdown another way. The one where he got hurt on, was that the only way they were going to score on that drive? That's my point. It was second down, and you're saying if you end up sliding at the 2, the Bills are just we're not going to score here.
That's what
and it was an amazing play, and he was great. But it's just, do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying, but he's not going to. No. And I'll pitch this theory to you. He's like, you know what? It's Josh Allen time. I'm a decent chunk of my career is in the rear view.
Was he in his 7th year, sixth or 7th?
Mahomes, yeah, he came in a year after Mahomes.
So I'm not a rookie. I'm not Justin Herbert, and I'm certainly not Caleb. I'm not Tua. I'm here. I'm established. This is my year, and it's a little bit how Lamar played against the Chiefs. Maybe Lamar's trying to send a message. Maybe Josh is just deciding to play more aggressive. But I think he's throwing caution to the wind. I'm going right now, carpe diem, today against the Cardinals, and then Thursday against the Dolphins. I'm going to play every down like it's my last.
If he hasn't changed at this point.
Tom Brady told him to change. He's like, okay, Tom.
Right. He wouldn't listen to Tom Brady. And you mentioned Mahomes. Mahomes is not a natural runner like Josh, and Mahomes is a better passer, so he's got more to lean on.
No, that's all true, and he's not as physically imposing. Josh is bigger than these guys.
And I also think Andy Reid's dialing up stuff that...
No, that's all fair, but even with the Lamar thing, as reckless as I thought some of that was, it was arguably their biggest game of the year. At home against the Cardinals...
They needed those, though. That was still a vaunted, a comeback.
Yeah, no, I understand. But Lamar just seemed like he went into the game saying, I'm going to do this. Yes. I don't think Josh went into that game saying, man, it's going to take me doing all this. Now, maybe that's the spot they were in.
I feel like that's the seed. They put him in that position.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not me trying to hate on Josh, I promise. Because I thought he was great in week 1. I just don't think, I think he can play that style of game a maximum of 5 times a year. And you know what I mean? And I think to use one of them up, so to speak, is
so he had
that early.
He ran 9 times for 39 yards. He only had 9 or more rushing attempts 4 times last year. So it's about right. Yeah. That was good teamwork by us.
Thanks. Good job, buddy. No, I wasn't looking at
Sometimes you look at my notes and you
I look at your notes to make sure you have something to say if I toss
copies.
It to you. I don't want to hang out to dry.
Off my notes. He's like, you know what? All right, Aaron Rodgers talking about the Super Bowl after their loss against the 49ers. Now he's also talking about the Jets bandwagon. Okay, who is that? Chris Healy and a few people.
No, there's a lot of people.
My buddy Stu.
There's a lot of people on this, man.
Fireman
a lot of
Ed.
people.
There's
Schrager picked him to be the 1 seed, him to be the MVP.
That was a low point for Schrager.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what he did. We love Schrager. Greenberg picked him. There's a lot of people picked him.
We just named them all.
I picked him to win
the messaging, that was bad too. The messaging was always going to be, if we won, We're going to the Super Bowl. If we lose, we're blank. Come along for the ride, though. If you want to jump off now, jump off, but then don't come back. He said that to Pat McAfee. Your reaction?
Look, I picked him to win the AFC East. I'm not jumping off the bandwagon. I don't have him going to the Super Bowl or anything like that, but I got him winning the division. But even so, Aaron Rodgers needs to be more humble. At this stage of his career, and I get the ego that in a lot of cases is necessary for a superstar, you know, to get to that level, you have to have this huge ego, this I can do what everybody thinks I can't do, all of that. I'm fine with that. But at this stage of his career, he needs some humility because the last year, his last season in Green Bay, so in this year, so his last 18 games, if we count the playoffs, he's thrown for 250 yards one time in his last 10 games.
Yeah.
Wait till you see
I'm sorry, one time in his last 14 games.
Yeah.
He hasn't done, you talk about 300. He hasn't thrown for 250 in his last 10 games. His last year in Green Bay, he averaged 217 yards a game.
I know.
He used to do that in his sleep.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying he's washed like you. I'm
not
just
saying he's washed, I'm
saying
just spitting facts.
show a little humility because if he falls flat on his face this year and he's just bad, he doesn't have it anymore, and the Jets are bad. If you show a little bit of humility, people are like, dude's 40, 41.
Bro,
no,
hold on.
Ship has sailed.
Well, it sailed because he's being arrogant.
Okay,
but I'm saying, and I'm not asking, there's a fine line, there's a happy medium between admitting you're washed and you don't have it anymore and thinking you're the same guy. You're still that MVP. Find that happy medium because if you fall on your face, people, there's a built-in excuse. You're 41. We get it. All right? But if you act arrogant like you're the same old guy, now we're going to be like, you failed. You couldn't get it done.
Do you want to go wild?
No.
Because also, here's the other thing. I didn't like the beginning of that quote when he's like, we knew the narrative was going to be if we win Super Bowl. Your messaging has been Super Bowl since the first press conference there, since leading into last year, then post-Achilles, you did more to saying a couple of Lombardis. That's not a media creation where it was going to, well, if we won, they were going to put this hype. You guys are the most all-in team in the league. And I disagree that if we lose, we're blank.
Nobody's saying you lose to San Francisco at home that you can't.
Correct.
You're trash.
Correct. But people are saying, well, it kind of went as badly as it could have in a lot of ways. I think people are saying of all the teams that played this weekend, there were only a half dozen that looked worse than the Jets. 3 of them, Carolina, the Giants, and Washington, and the Raiders, 4, pardon me, that we don't expect anything of. And then 2 other teams that had real expectations, people are a little concerned. Atlanta, people are concerned. Cleveland, people are very concerned. Cincinnati, people are concerned. So any team with expectations that lays an absolute egg in week 1, not just a loss, not 29-27 like the Colts lost to Houston, but the Jets from the second quarter until Rodgers got pulled allowed a 29-6 run. They scored 1 touchdown, and it was the Aaron Rodgers free play. Their defense allowed 8 consecutive scores. I understand it's only 1 week, but aside from major injury, it went about as poorly as one realistically could have anticipated. And so I'm not worried about the bandwagon piece of it. There is a level of, I would say, self-realization of, well, yeah, we're off to a very bad start.
Well, you don't want him to say that.
No.
But he doesn't have to challenge him. Get off the bandwagon and don't get back on when we start. Just relax and be humble. I mean, relax. I didn't even, no pun intended. But just be a little humble.
Yeah, I didn't want him to say that either. But it's exactly what Brew is saying. It's almost like you would be such an idiot.
Right.
To question us now. So just know if you do, we don't want you back, as opposed to, well, I don't know, man. It's the most tortured fan base, arguably, in all of sports. They have waited for decades for the savior at quarterback. They thought they were getting it last year. Through no fault of your own, they didn't. They thought they were getting it Monday night, and it looked a lot like games Jet fans have seen before. Tell them get off the bandwagon.
And he talked big and bad
Yes.
at the end of his Green Bay tenure, right? That they were going
Yes.
to make the playoffs even after that slow start, and it didn't work.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.